Hello, everyone. Welcome to Millennial Z Alpha Generations, where we share the other side of the creation story with today's youth. In today's episode of Lovingly Refuting Internet Atheists, we're going to be discussing the ad hominem attack. Don't use it. That's what we're going to try and encourage people to do. Don't use personal attacks on atheists that you're discussing theistic issues with. So the way this video came down is that I wrote a track and I turned it into a video called Atheism's 7 Mega Millions Jackpot Miracles. And a guy named Theo, or at least that's his screen name, Theo, responded to it, and I thought there would be some good object lessons to share in that. So let's get right into the video and Theo's response and my response to Theo. So thank you, and I hope you like and subscribe. If you like the video, like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and we would appreciate that. So let's get right into the video. Okay, here's the track, which I turned into a video, and to which Theo responded to. Atheism's 7 Mega Millions Jackpot Miracles. See why it's simply impossible to be that lucky. And in the description to the video, I say this. Theists say we owe our existence to a supernatural creator who purposely designed and created everything. Atheists say we owe our existence to a series of naturalistic accidents, ultimately originating from non-existence. So are we the product of a miraculous designer or a lucky nothing? Now, Theo responded to this, which is what we want to talk about. And before I get into his response, I want to note that he did not touch on one argument in the article that I made. Not one. Zero. But he did say this to start off, which gave me the idea for this video about ad hominem attacks and why we shouldn't use them, don't use them. Okay? He says in his very first sentence, you do a real disservice to these youth watching the video when you lie. Now, that's a strong word, lie, about the rational position of atheism. Now, Theo didn't explain how I misrepresented the atheism. I mean, what in this description even is not true about atheism? Don't they believe that the universe was the creation of the universe, the beginning of the universe was a non-directed accident? And if he does believe that, wherein did I misrepresent? I'll be curious to find out. Now, the word lie is a very charged word. In fact, it implies motive, a bad motive. I purposely said something that's false. Like if I say it's 5 o'clock and I was mistaken and it's actually 3, is that a lie or is that a mistake, an honest mistake? Well, obviously it's an honest mistake, unless there's some reason for me to lie about the time, which there obviously isn't. But anyway, so what is wrong with questioning people's motives? I don't think we should do it. I really don't. I think it's unproductive. It's unhelpful. Now, if you're talking to somebody that is very obnoxious and he's very hard to talk to, it's just a bad attitude or whatever, don't waste your time talking to someone like that. And I don't even think Theo is like that per se, even though he's using an ad hominem attack here. And perhaps he'll apologize for that. Hopefully he will. But he's a pretty cool guy, I can tell overall. You'll see as we go along. This is not a good sentence for him, introductory sentence. But let's talk about what is an ad hominem attack before I move on to what he actually said. Let's look over here from the encyclopedia, free encyclopedia, Wikipedia, in the red. Just concentrate on the red here. Typically, this term refers to a rhetorical strategy where the speaker attacks the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making an argument rather than attacking the substance of the argument itself. This avoids genuine debate by creating a personal attack as a diversion. And I think it often is a diversion. Not necessarily purposeful, but certainly I see this happen a lot. And it's not just atheists who do this. Theists also do this. They attack the motives of people they're trying to convert, believe it or not. Often using a totally irrelevant but often highly charged attribute of the opponent's character or background. And that's why I contend calling someone a liar is unhelpful. So we should avoid that. All right, let's get into what he says here in his post. I am an atheist, he says. I define atheism as, where am I here? Suspending any acknowledgement as to the reality of any particular God until sufficient credible evidence is introduced. My position is that I have no good reason to acknowledge the reality of any God. Okay, you might not. Doesn't mean the arguments aren't there for that. And here is why I currently hold to such a position. Below are 10 facts I must consider when evaluating the claim made by certain theists that some gods exist in reality. Now, I don't appreciate his nomenclature here, some gods. He knows what we believe. We don't believe in gods. We believe in the God. Now, he doesn't believe that, of course. But you should at least represent what the other person's saying. The creator God, the ultimate prime mover of everything, God, not a god or gods. But it's almost like a derogatory use of terminology, whether intended or not, that I see often on internet sites, and even top atheists in debates use these tactics, which I don't appreciate. To be clear, these are not premises, these 10 facts he's about to share, for any argument concluding there is to be no gods, concluding there to be no gods. They are simply facts I must take into account when evaluating such a claim. Well, actually, his number 9 is, I would think, a good argument for atheism, which I will cover. The other ones here I'm not going to say much about, as I am about the number 9. But I think number 9, he can make a premise-based argument out of that. 1, I personally have never observed the God. Well, good. I take that at face value. You haven't. I have never encountered any person who claimed to have observed a God. Well, I have. I never talked to God, if this is what he's trying to drive out here. I never heard God talking to me. How's that? I talked to God, but I never heard God talking to me in an audible voice. Now I know some people who do claim that, and I take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, let's go to number 3. I have no accounts of persons claiming to have observed a God that were willing to or able to demonstrate or verify their observation for authenticity, accuracy, or validity. I don't know what he's asking for here, like a video or a tape recording. Anyway, I just take it by face value. You have it. I haven't either. 4, I have never been presented a valid argument that also employed sound premises that lead deductively to a conclusion that a God, or gods, I guess, exist in reality. Well, I just presented some and you didn't even respond to them. So I don't know what to make of that per se. Of all the many, number 5, of all the many logical syllogisms I have encountered argue for the reality of a gods, I have found all to contain either logical fallacies or false or unsubstantiated premises. Well, again, if you found that in my video, you didn't care to take those points up. 6, I have never observed the phenomenon in which the existence of a God was a necessary antecedent for the known or probable explanation for the causation of that phenomenon. Saying the same thing here. 7, all these could have, 4 or 5 of these could have been combined into one, if you ask me, but that's okay. I repeat myself sometimes too. 7, several proposed and generally accepted explanations for observable phenomenon that were previously based on the agency of gods have subsequently been replaced with rational natural explanations, and each substantiated with evidence that excluded the agency of a gods. I had never encountered vice versa. I'm not sure what he's trying to say with this here. Maybe in the old days, people thought when it thundered, it was, they attributed some god named Thor or the god of lightning. And then now they found out it's the scientific reason why it thunders and there's lightning, electric charges, and all that. Doesn't prove anything in of itself. That's true. 8, I have never experienced the presence of a God through intercession of angels, divine revelation, the miraculous act of divinity, or any other occurrence of a supernatural event. Well, I have. Now, I could probably take an hour just to explain all my experiences with God, but I'm not going to get into that because that is not the purpose of this video. Number 9, every phenomenon. Now, this is where I think he could make an argument, a premise-based argument. He said none of these could be turned into a premise-based argument against the existence of God. I think this one can, actually. It's one of the better arguments I see atheists make. But I think they have like 3 good arguments. Most of the arguments are either poor, downright, ridiculous. I'm not saying they're ridiculous people, but making ridiculous arguments. But here it is. Every phenomenon that I have ever observed has emerged from the necessary and sufficient antecedents over time without exception. In other words, I have never observed a phenomenon, entity, process, object, event, process, substance, system, or being that was created ex nihilo, that is, instantaneously came into existence by the solitary volition of a deity. Now, a lot of you might not be able to make sense, heads or tails of this, but I think this is what he's trying to say. And I'll rephrase the argument he's making here so you can understand this better. Let's go back to my pages document here. And Theo, if this is not what you're trying to say there, then you need to qualify because you used a lot of fancy words and vocabulary. It maybe went over my head too. Supernaturalism, objection. Supernaturalism cannot explain the origin of the universe and intelligent life because material causation is all we observe. Since we don't see a supernatural God operating in the present, he couldn't have operated in the past. My answer, this argument seems reasonable, and I think it is. Like I said, one of the top arguments Steve would have if he would formulate it into an argument like I just formulated for them there, which I read. But it's a sharp double-edged sword. If the naturalist excludes a supernatural cause on the premise that all we observe is material causation or activity, that is, the natural laws of physics in operation, he simultaneously excludes naturalism explaining the origin of the universe springing into existence without a physical cause. And that's what atheists claim. I'm going to say that here. He can't do an about face and say the universe doesn't have a physical cause, the very thing most Big Bang and multiverse advocates in academia actually teach. This statement is not controversial, though many internet atheists are simply ignorant of what leading atheist scientists believe on the matter. These scientists believe the universe popped into existence uncaused out of literally nothing at the Big Bang beginning or the beginning of the multiverse. And the question that naturally arises from this, why don't things pop into existence uncaused out of nothing all the time? Why just once billions of years ago? Also, natural law is self-restricting. The first law of thermodynamics states that matter cannot be created or destroyed. The idea that the universe, time, space, and matter was created by natural causes is therefore false. Or naturalism. Theism is the belief, well, I think I'll end here and get back, I don't want to overdo this, but let's go back to his number 10. All claims of a supernatural or divine nature that I have encountered have either been refuted to my satisfaction or do not present as falsifiable. Well, again, if that's the case, why didn't you respond to my arguments? As far as falsifiable, how can you falsify everything coming from nothing? Tell me, how can you falsify everything coming from nothing? The universe evolving out of literally nothing, as I quoted different atheists in my paper. How can you falsify something like that? Think about that for those who understand the falsifiable aspect of you can't, I won't get into that. I would need another video to explain the falsifiable aspect of the argument atheists makes that theism is not falsifiable, therefore it's false. But the things that they say put in this place are just as equally falsifiable, which deserves a video of its own. So in closing, let me say this. Let me read what how he finished out here. Because I said he was a pretty cool guy overall. All these facts lead me to the only rational conclusion that concurs with the realities I have been presented, and that is the fact that there is no good reason for me to acknowledge the reality of any God. I have heard often that atheism is the denial of the Abrahamic God. Well, I guess some people say that. I would say even if the Abrahamic God is not true, meaning the Judaism and Christianity were false religions, that would not discount theism. Deistic theism. That's what the word I was trying to get to. You can be there are deists who do not believe in any religion, but believe God created everything. God gave man a moral code. They don't know what happened. I say, I don't know what happened to God, but we know he must have created everything. There's lots of people who believe that. But anyway, let's get to his point here. But denial is the active rejection of a substantiated fact once credible evidence has been presented. Sure enough. Okay, I agree with that. Atheism is simply withholding such acknowledgement until sufficient credible evidence is introduced. It is natural, rational, and prudent to be skeptical of unsubstantiated claims, especially extraordinary ones. Okay, so it's good to be skeptical of these things, but what about when people do make positive arguments? Don't you feel obligated to respond to them? I think you do. And hey, maybe you will next time. That'd be great. Well, I'd like to hear what you have to say. And he ends, I welcome any cordial response. Peace. So I say peace to you too, Theo, and I hope you will get this video and respond to it. Show me how I am a liar and how I misrepresented atheism. I don't think you can, because as I defined it, that's what atheists believe, and that's what theists believe. So to you theists out there, I really want you to sort of, suppress the idea or suppress the emotion to get irate or start questioning people's motives. It doesn't lead to any good place. Stick with the facts, stick with the arguments, stick with things that are going to lead someone to God and ultimately Christ, and don't give them a reason to reject Christianity. Plain and simple. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and share it with somebody, especially the youth. That's what this is all about. I go out on college campuses, hand out tracts, and high school campuses. We go out there to hand out tracts to give the youth the other side of the creation story they're not getting. and subscribe if you haven't. So we'll talk next time. Thank you.